we're back.
We're back once again.
Yes. With another tune from you called Friend Now.
Yep.
Damn. What does friendship mean to you?
What does friendship mean to me?
Yeah.
Companionship, trust, dependability, just bonding with somebody, you know, and really, you know, just based out of love and no conditions.
So, what is your process in going beyond just friendship with somebody?
Well, first of all, I have to be attracted to them.
Obviously.
You know, and then, to be honest, like, I just look at what makes sense for the situation. Like, I'm a very purposeful person when it comes to, like, my relationships, whether that's friendships or intimacy. And sometimes, like, the right partnership is just, like, you know, deciding to take the next step depends on where I'm at in life and, like, how we serve each other's life during that time, you know? Sometimes you could just be friends and then be like, yeah, this is cool, we kick it. But then other times, like, you make my life better and more easy, more efficient. And I could do that for you too. And I'm willing to learn you on a deeper level, you know?
So, like, yeah, just listening to the song, it's like, obviously, it's after the point of, like, a relationship. So this song feels like you entered a relationship with somebody, and then for some reason it dissipates, it ends, and then you still have a feeling towards this woman that you still want to be her friend. A lot of guys aren't on that type of time. Like, how do you get to that point in time where you're like, I don't want to be with you, and I don't want to just be linking.
Yeah.
I just want to be your friend now.
Man, well, the song isn't actually just that. It's really just being with somebody that you share such a bond and a long-term memory with that you don't want to lose. When you lose that person, you don't want to lose the memories. So you kind of try and keep the relationship still, but just in a different context. And in the instance of this song, it was like, it wasn't about this person who I spent the bulk of the time with, but it was triggered by another relationship. And I got to a point where I was like, damn, like, if I never talk to this person again, I can't turn to my homie and be like, yo, remember the time where we was, you know what I mean, once in a lifetime thing. It's like, oh shit, like, we was in, you know, we took trips or, like, met, you know, these bucket list things. And, you know, the relationship was no more. But I had to figure out how to keep the times and how to keep what we built up into, but separate the relationship or sever the relationship. So, you know, as a spoiler, it didn't work. You know what I mean? And it worked for as long as I wasn't in my next relationship, or as long as, you know, I wasn't to my next stage.
So that becomes the whole thing. It's like, you want to be their friend, but
you can't,
because out of respect to the next person,
you
got to create that distance. And obviously that distance goes beyond, oh yeah, we're still homies. It's like, nah, like, out of respect to my new relationship.
Yeah, and I had to have that conversation. You know what? Like, it started initially out of protocol, and I could share this now, but it started initially out of protocol, but then the beautiful thing about every relationship is it's going to cause you to look at yourself.
Of course.
So after time had passed, I had realized, like, were my feelings towards that person the same to the point where if they appeared in front of me, I would get back with them? Like, no, not necessarily. But they still held a slot in my life that I couldn't have experienced. I couldn't have noticed it until it was gone. And that void had to be, like, filled and given to my current situation. So I didn't know that I was attached at all still. And I think that's, like, something that a lot of people don't necessarily get over. They're like, yo, how could I keep this person in my life, even if I don't talk to them but once a year? You know what I mean? But, like, how can I keep this slot and still move on? And it doesn't work until you rip that Band-Aid off, and it's like you just let it bleed out, you know?
Question: are you the type of person to tell your girlfriend that you had a conversation or had a dialogue with your ex-girlfriend?
I mean, yeah, if that's the rule, yes. You know what I mean? I think it's something that you kind of have to bring up. That's something that's so new to me, though. You know what I mean? Because, like, I haven't been in a lot of serious relationships that have required me to bring up people from my past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, that was new for me, just being like, oh, yeah, like, you know, just a heads up, I heard from this person. But you'd rather just not hear from this person. So it never has to be a conversation. With no disrespect to anybody, it's like, but, you know, it was a time where I had to really just be straightforward. And it was tough. It was so hard, man. You know what I mean? For me reasons, not for like holding on to past reasons or like hoping for a future reason, but like it's another thing when you have to be the person that you never wanted to be seen as, where it's like, damn, like I gotta break your heart a little bit.
I gotta be the villain.
Yeah, it's an ego shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And like
there is no happy ending. You know what I mean? Like
that takes us to a question of like, what is closure? Like, I had a whole group text conversation with my homies back home. Like, closure isn't real.
Yeah, it's not. Closure's in hindsight. Closure, I feel like, is in. So there's closure to me through being intentionally upfront about whatever it is, even if it's hard, and then in reflecting on that and giving it time to heal. That's where your closure comes from. But your closure doesn't actually come from the person. It comes from like the decision.
Yes.
And, you know what I mean? And
am I at peace with my decision about this relationship? And a lot of people, they definitely want like, they kind of want the whole job interview, like exit interview. Mm-hmm. And like, even if we have this exit interview, it doesn't mean we're gonna get to everything in this.
Nah, you're not.
And it's not like we're gonna arrange time for another interview to talk about the stuff we just talked about.
Yeah, but that's how it can get. Like, yes. It's so easy to fall into that where we're just having these conversations when this thing is actually, it's been over, and there are so few reasons to actually leave a relationship. And that's like so few tangible reasons. You know what I mean? And I think that's the toughest truth for everybody, because nobody knows if they should have left or they should have stayed unless something was adherently wrong. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, all right, this was not healthy, or this was abusive, or there were lies told. If it's not those things, it becomes tough.
The rest of it's like, yo, so why can't we work this out?
Yeah, man.
And it's crazy when one person just really wants to work out the error or the difference in approach or like the problem, and then the other person just wants to keep it moving.
Yeah.
No matter like opposite.
But that's what ends it, is when both people are no longer putting in that effort.
Damn.
When it becomes one-sided and it's like, I'm trying to keep this together, and the other person's like, nah, like I don't see the vision. I'm not willing to try anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the most devastating part, you know?
Shit.
It's really a game of chicken. You know what I mean? Like, relationships. It's kind of like, yeah, you gotta, like, some people are just as crazy as you and they want to keep going.
Facts.
And that's what carries it forward, you know? But other times it's like some people just meet their end and they're just like, yo, like, it really just be contextual things. Like, yo, this is just getting too hard, or I'm just not in the place and this is not the space for it.
So this woman that you wanted to be friends with, whenever y'all are at y'all's peak relationship or peak rapport, how did you feel about her?
Man, you know, I think that it's tough, man. It's tough for me to answer that question. I'm in a relationship right now, so I'm gonna just be open about that. I'm not media trained or like the cool guy about this, but what I will say is, like, you know what I mean? Like, anybody that I'm in a relationship with, you know, I care to invest myself in, and like I care about these people. You know what I mean? And what was the question again? No, I really do want to answer though, but you know,
got this nigga.
yeah.
I said, with this person that inspired the song "Friend Now," how did you feel about them at its highest peak?
Oh yeah, no, like it was great, but it's one of those things. Like I said, it's the context that can make or break a situation. It don't even gotta be. Sometimes it's like the situation is just too. It's too tough for that time in life, and you gotta break off.
Yeah,
You
some
know what I mean?
certain situations are just built to fail.
Yeah, it's like, or built against the odds, you know what I mean? It's just like winning a championship in sports. You can have the greatest roster, and guys who love each other, you know what I mean, and play hard. But then you meet injuries, or like it might, if it's football, it might rain that day. You know what I mean? Like things that stack up against your odds to win.
And in my head, it's
Contracts don't line up the next season.
Exactly.
You know what
It's
I mean?
like moving into your dream apartment. I didn't want to say dream home, but like perfect apartment, perfect situation, but it's a sublease.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, damn, I want to get so comfortable in this motherfucker.
Yeah.
But
It's not up to you.
it's not up to you.
Yeah.
And even if it was, let's say that the neighbor doesn't like maybe there's like a noisy neighbor that's been there for 20 something years. And you're like, damn, I don't really love this, but I
Yeah.
love being here, but I don't love the environment.
But that's the thing too. Like those are the tough ones because those are the things that you hope for change on. Be like, man, is this a permanent issue, or is this a circumstantial issue? And is this something that we both need to figure out and become closer towards, or is this something that if we get into it, we're gonna resent each other?
So are you a hopeful person that like, okay, I met this person where they're at, they met me where I'm at? I'm the type of person that already know off the jump to know what I don't like about this about this woman's like situation. And like a lot of the times I don't like the intangible things, like maybe where they're from, their friend group that they grew up with, their level of education or maybe lack of, or maybe they're too educated, stuff like that, like stuff that preceded you.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a part of me that's like, okay, this is the type of person I'm dealing with. When me and her are together, I really love it. But that's not 100% or 90% of our relationship is us being away from each other. So it's like I gotta hear about the stories of you and X and you and Z. And you're like, why are you still fucking with that person? Like, but I grew up with them. And you're like, can't you grow up with new people?
Yeah, man. I can be particular about certain of those things that you mentioned too, man. And yeah, man, context is everything.
Damn.
Context is really everything when it comes to this, man. And the most crucial thing that I learned in where I'm at now, at an early stage of my relationship, I had said something that gave me fits. You know what I mean? Or something that I didn't understand about a person. And I said it to the right person who was giving me counsel. And he was just like, you have to understand that this person didn't learn that overnight. So whatever it is that you're hoping for, you have to have patience, and you have to give them the opportunity to be in your presence and influenced by your upbringing, your background. You know what I mean? And your input and contribution into their life, because, man, you really are the people that you grow up around, the environment that you're in, the people you have conversations with on a day-to-day basis. And some people just landed in the wrong place, you know? And just understanding that is, it's key, you know?
That's facts. Like, me and Danny were like, we talk about, oh, like your 5 closest people, you're the summation of them.
Absolutely.
And you're like, well,
and some people never take time to curate that. Some people just defer to, okay, we went to school together. Okay, we had jobs together. Okay, we were family friends. But that has nothing to do with who you want to be.
damn.
And a lot of the time, you know, you are, like you said, you are the sum of that. And it's hard to escape it. But for me, I think I've always been, like, that's an aspect of my life that's really strong. So I've been able to enlighten the people that I've been with in the past of what that could look like for their life. You know what I mean? And I'm working on just being a light to that instead of imposing and trying to, like, put my hands to it and mold the situation. Like, I'd rather be a light to the things that can be better than to actually put my hands on them, because that's not my job. That's when shit becomes unfair for both parties. You know what I mean? Like,
he said he's Kevin Durant. He's like, hey, I'm not the GM. I just hoop.
Straight up. Sometimes you really got to remember that. It's like, man, like, this is God's child at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, not mine. You know what I mean?
This is God's child.
You know what I mean? So exactly.
That's crazy.
One in the air, but you know what I mean? I'm not putting my hands to it.
So going back to what you were saying, like, the song was more describing that period of time where post breakup, but kind of before new relationship.
Yeah.
What does that in between period, like, what did that feel like to you?
That in between period, it was what I mentioned earlier, which was like when you spend a lot of time alone and then you talk to just your immediate friends, family, you realize that with this person you had experiences that nobody else was there for. So it's like literally you're like ripping a page out of your history. You know what I mean? And you just got to know that it happened. But to an outsider, you couldn't explain. They weren't there. You know what I mean? Like, you spend so much intimate time with whoever it is that you're in a relationship with, you know? So I think it was a tough time trying to adjust to that, but I had to just be real with my homies and just be like, bro, like, this is what it feel like. Am I crazy for feeling this way? You know what I mean? Of just being like, nah, like, it's not, but it's like, how, like, should I lose the relationship, you know what I mean, completely? Or should I, you know what I mean? Should I make a way, or like keep the window open type deal? And you know, at the time I didn't have to make a decision, but somewhere around, somewhere down the line I did. You know,
what was her stance on your feelings? Like, how did she feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, it cordial. It was just respect. It's just not, you know what I mean? It was respect. It was one of those things where, you know, you could know that you're supposed to break up, but like both parties can know that. But the person who catches the brick has to address that part of things, where it's like, damn, like, it hurts, even though you knew that it was supposed to happen, even though maybe you would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
It just hurts because you didn't get there first. You know what I mean? Like,
the breakup game.
Yeah, and for me, like, you know, I got to a place where I was moving on first, presumably. I don't know. It wasn't like on a day-to-day basis, you know what I mean? But it's like, when I brought it up, it was like, damn, like, that's crazy.
It blindsided her?
You know, potentially. I don't know. I don't really think, like I said, it wasn't a close situation like that, but I think it just made it a reality. Like, damn, like, we never thought we would have to talk about this. But here we are and we do. And, you know, it's one of those things you can never prepare for it. And you can never say how it's going to feel, even if you think you're at full closure, you know?
What, from that whole situation, what have you carried with you in a positive way?
What have I carried with me?
Like, what lesson did you learn that's like helped you navigate romance and relationships better?
Life goes on, and sometimes you will learn from somebody something that they won't receive from you. So what I mean by that is, I might have been difficult in certain ways in my last relationship that I understand, because I was told, or I saw the result, or it met an end. But my learning is not being applied to that current situation. It's being incorporated into my now situation, which doesn't involve the person who maybe taught me that. And there are certain things, I'm sure, on my end that another man or another person is going to benefit
from.
You know?
This is what I tell everybody. Like, I tell everybody, you're catching me at a good time. Like, and I never like...
Buy low. Buy low, sell high.
And like, I never explain that to its fullest, but it's like, yo, like, I went through the bumps and bruises with someone else,
mm-hmm.
so that you could only see the scars. You only see like the new skin.
Yeah.
You don't see the cuts. And like that's ideal. It's like, yo, I only want to get hit with that punch once.
Yeah.
And then I want to see it coming. Like, even how I react to people, specifically like women, like, let's say if someone's being hard-headed, like, maybe 2 years ago, my patience would have been so much shorter.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, oh, I may not have a quick response to something. It's just like, oh, okay. And then it's like, I found a better way of responding to things rather than just using my impulse.
Yeah.
Rather than just trying to be right.
That was a big one I had to learn, bro, is learning against my impulse. You know what I mean? And not just reacting and not just being like, bro, I was so quick to stiff arm before, bro. Like, so quick. It could be anything. Be like, what? Because I'm a principal guy. I'd be like, nah, it's the principal. You know what I mean? It's the principal. This is going to happen. This is going to tell me something that's going to develop in 6 months to a year. But I'm learning against that. It's not the truth. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has a mask on for at least the first year, I think. That's what I'm starting to learn.
He said, fucking
And once you get that close, it's kind of like you don't want to get out. It's like, man, I might as well stay here. I know exactly every blade in my kitchen. That you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's something that's, you know, of value when you get to that point with somebody where it's like, yo, we broke through that point of trying to impress each other, trying to hide the scars or whatever. You know what I mean? Because it's going to come out. It don't go anywhere, you know?
So, in a perfect world, would y'all still be friends?
No. It's just not right. And certain things, just like how you said about closure, certain things you just can't explain. It's always going to sound bad when you just, like, that no is just sharp. But it's like, bro, like, certain things you can't explain, you know? It's just got to be felt. And in a perfect world, what Kendrick said, in a perfect world, I will be perfect world. And it's like, it ain't a perfect world, though. And sometimes it's like, you know, things are right just the way that they are. The world is perfecting itself through decisions that are forward and not behind, you know? And that's on every side of the spectrum. Everybody just has to get to their next stage. And even if you should meet something from the past, it should link up at the perfect intersection. And that doesn't involve you reaching back. You got to get forward to get there. So, no, it's right, you know? It's right. It is what it is. It hurt, you know? Hurt happens. And that's just a part of it, you know what I mean? So, cue Brent Fayez. No, I'm playing, bro.
Hurt happens.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, man.
Right when he said, it is what it is.
Yeah, man. I got to learn to be your friend now, but I can't.
I can't come when you're alone now. You gotta learn to be my friend now. Don't call my girlfriend them hoe now. You gotta learn to be my friend now. Don't send pictures when you go out. You gotta learn to be my friend now. Don't put salt on that sarcasm. You gotta learn to be my friend now. We can hug but no orgasms. You gotta learn to be my friend now. So when we kick it, keep it casual.